Hi, good day guys. This is Daniel from Gardenscape Designs, and today we're going to talk about variegation. Now, a couple of days ago, a customer of mine sent me a picture, a plant that she wanted to sell, but she was a bit unsure of it because it did not look like her parent plant. Parent plant meaning the original plant the plant came from, it wasn't looking like too much of it. The markings was a bit off, and the variegation was a bit off. So there's a lot of us collecting plants. We have the newbies coming into the hobby, and then we have some of the folks who are here for quite a while and still may not be too clear on variegation. So I want to do a two-part series. We're going to do a two-part series where we're going to actually educate you guys and show you all the different types of variegation that you'll get on the various plants. We're going to discuss the probability of what they would actually produce, and when it is you are actually shopping for plants, when it is you all go collecting for plants and stuff, what it is to look out for in order to pick up good proper plants. Okay, so variegation. What is variegation? Variegation is basically a mutation in the plant, a desired mutation. So usually plants are green, but the variegation you would get like yellow patches, white patches. They might be sporadic, they might be uniform. This is what variegation is. It's a very desired outcome that one would want in their plants. Now you have various hybridizers all throughout the world that would be taking different plants and putting them together to create these lovely pieces for us. So in putting these plants together, you would get different characteristics. So one of the characteristics of a plant, it probably may have large teeth, it may have large spines. Another one might be red in color, might have broad leaves, might be tall, a huge plant. So they put these plants together to create a very nice plant for me and you to enjoy within our garden. So let me just walk you through and show you the three basic types of variegation that you would find on the plants that we love most, bromeliad. So we have this white walker here, right? And you will notice on the outside of the leaf, you would see green edges. This is what we call a basic variegated plant. On the middle would be yellow or cream. Take a look at its twin sibling. This is white walker, this is white walker albo. On the white walker albo or the albo marginated plant, you would see white edges and then you would see green on the inside. Sometimes the green on the inside or sometimes the white on the inside or the cream would have different spots. We call it spots maculation. It would have horizontal banding, especially for like the tigers. We would call those zonation and so forth. So this is what we have: the variegated plant and the albo marginated plant. Variegated, white edge, sorry, green edge, and the albo marginated plant has white edges, guys. So let's take a look at what is striated. This alcantara here is a striated bromeliad. What is striated? A striated bromeliad is like a combination of the both. So look at the markings on the leaf. Look at the striations. The striations is the longitudinal, these long lines that you would see running through the leaf. So for striated plants, this is a perfectly striated plant. Sometimes you will get green on the edge, and sometimes you will get white on the edge. And you have multiple lines running straight through the leaves. This is what you call a striated plant. So guys, let's take a little deeper look into this thing called variegation. Look at this plant. This one is a Grace Gold hybrid called Pitch Black. A lovely plant, a solid color. No lines, no margins, no spots, freckles, or no form of variegation. So this plant is what we call a solid color plant. And this plant usually grows pretty much good, pretty much no problems at all. You would see the green area here, which allows the plant to absorb sunlight, chlorophyll, right? During the process of photosynthesis, the plant is able to create the fresh air that we breathe and also food for itself. So with regards to these plants, they are pretty much stable. Take a look at this hybrid. This is a Ray Kuhlman hybrid called So Amazing. Look at the outer edge of the leaf. This is an albo marginated plant because of the white. But let's take a further inspection of this plant here. You can see breaks within this green area here, longitudinal lines running through. And this is a very pretty plant. This is pretty variegation, very nice variegation, which add to the aesthetic beauty of the plant. Take a look at this red dog, another classic Ray Kuhlman hybrid. Now this is a variegated plant, guys. Now remember, the green on the outside is where the variegation is, and on the center no, sorry, the green on the outside, and then we have the solid white banding on the inside. You'll notice that this one don't have much longitudinal lines, if any at all. This is called mediopicta. Mediopicta. The banding is very, very, very strong, and the probability of this plant producing great pups is very high. However, these plants sometimes they just do what it is. The plants do what they want sometimes. So sometimes it just may revert, but it has a huge, big possibility of getting very, very strong pups for a very good while. Let's take a look back at this plant here. You're going to get strong pups coming out of this one as well. But I think mediopicta plants, you get a higher degree of stable pups coming from the plants. So I want, when it is you're looking at the plants, when you're choosing your plants or what have you, that you inspect the plant and make sure that it is the right plant for you. That when it is you actually decide to get a so amazing, that you're getting a so amazing and not something else, not one of its parent plants, that you're getting what it is you're actually looking for. Another plant here, Pinktastic. Now you notice that the elbow on this plant is a bit more broader. The elbow margins on this plant is a bit more broader. It's not as narrow as the other elbow marginated plants that we saw before. This plant is still good. Another thing too is that you can look at the emergent leaves and you could take a look at the variegation that you would actually be seeing, whether it has any longitudinal lines, if the characteristics of the plant is changing. So sometimes you may have leaves coming out that may not bear the actual characteristics of the plant, they might be blank. No. One thing is for sure, you're purchasing a plant, you try to pick up a very good plant. If it is that during the course of the plant growing, it decides to revert, can't blame the buyer. Sorry, can't blame the seller. Not their fault. Sometimes the plants do just what it is they want to do. All right? Sometimes the plants do just what it is they want to do. So let's take a look at some of these plants here that has thoroughly reverted. This one is a Optimus Prime, right? And some folks knowing Optimus Prime would say, wow, this is Optimus Prime? I thought this was Optimus Prime. This is a beautiful Optimus Prime. Now, this Optimus Prime has all the markings that an Optimus Prime is supposed to have. It has lovely zonation. This zonation would get pretty much more intense in the sun. Lovely variegation between the leaves. Lovely markings. And even looking at the new emerging leaves, you're actually seeing variegation coming out of the cup. These are some of the things that you have to look for in your plant. Now, a non-variegated plant is usually called Nova. Novar. That is where the variegation has completely gone. This is Optimus Prime, guys, or where the variegation is actually going. These plants are not Optimus Prime. This is Nova. The plants have actually reverted to one of the parent plants. So sometimes you may have 3 or 4 different plants coming together to create one plant. The parent plant might consist of 2 different varieties, and one other parent plant might consist of another 2 varieties. Sometimes with the reverting, it goes back to one of the parent plants, or it could go to one of the parents of that parent plant. The plant could go straight back to that. So this is what we call reverting, guys. So we have the horizontal banding, which is what we call zonation. It's pretty strong on this plant, and honestly speaking, once this Optimus Prime Nova goes into the sun, it lights up. It don't have the variegation, but it still look pretty. I would have customers actually asking me sometimes if it is I have non-variegated plant because they like it, but usually these plants do not bear the characteristics of the original plant, so it is not Optimus Prime or the original plant. Take a look at this plant. This plant is also badly reverting. This is also what I would consider a no variegated or a non-variegated plant. So you notice that the green is very, very broad on the outside of the leaf, and on the center of the leaf you're seeing a thin white strip. It's a bit broader here. It almost disappears here. You get it back here. You know, it's an unstable plant. Optimus Prime is usually an unstable plant, but when it is you're looking for your Optimus Prime, you make sure that you get something pretty strong, so that later down the road it would be able to give you the desired results that you're looking for. So guys, there's a second school of thought where a reverted plant, it has all the characteristics of all the different plants that make it up. From its both parent plant, whether it's 3 or 4, it has all the genetic makeup of the same plant. It's basically the same plant that looks different, that looks like one of the plants that initially created it. And we're going to explore that just now because it would have some truth in that. If you think about black zombie, sometimes black zombie, a complete black zombie could make back a roboto minuscule. A roboto minuscule could actually create a black zombie. Or sometimes I would have shown in the past where a roboto minuscule have both a black zombie and a roboto minuscule on it. Let's take a look at one of this plant that we all love, which is called Johannes de Rolf. Johannes de Rolf. This is a very nice plant, very huge in size, and this one has some very lovely variegation. It's a full sun plant, and with that variegation, you will get a nice pink vena going over the leaf. But we are looking at variegation today, guys. If you look at this plant, you would see the variegation within this area here. Take a look at inside of the cup. Take a look at inside of the cup area. Sometimes it's okay to throw the water, investigate your cup. You probably might see one leaf coming up, but then you see 2 other leaves coming up strong. You probably could go with that plant. Always look and investigate your plants. Make sure that is the correct plant for you. This is another Johannes de Rolf. This Johannes de Rolf, it's like half and half. So you would have half the plant with variegation and the next half of the plant without variegation. This plant has taken some level of reversion, but it's still a beautiful plant and it still could produce complete variegated plants. Over on the side here, this plant is called Thunderbolt, a 2017 Skotak hybrid. Now, this plant is the product of a plant that was half and half. Its parent plant, half was variegated and half was non-variegated. But the plant was actually able to produce a fully pretty much cool variegated plant. I really, really love this plant, guys. I hope I'm not moving too fast and that you all guys are understanding what it is I'm showing you here. This is another Johannes de Rolf. We would definitely call this one a Nova. The variegation is gone. The variegation on this plant is gone. You are seeing thin white lines on it. So you might have one of these plants in your garden and you probably might say, hey, this is a Johannes de Rolf or what have you. No, it's definitely going to something else. Reverted plants usually have a way lesser value than their variegated counterparts. Reverted plants are cheaper than their variegated counterparts. So that is one of the things with regards to, these plants that we have to all look out for. Let's shift on this side, guys. This is a plant called the Secret Agent, a Skotak hybrid. A lot of albo inside of this plant. Take a look. A lot of white. And because you have a lot of white, the plant may not grow as fast as if it was properly balanced with just thin white edges and green. Because of the lack of chlorophyll, plant won't be able to feed itself as fast and grow. So sometimes these plants take a longer time to grow. And even the white area of the plant, if the plant was fighting a disease or fighting heat or what have you, this part of the plant, which does nothing absolutely, it's just beautiful, it usually dies first. It usually gets damaged first. Right? So this is a plant which is pretty much reverting as well. This one, as I said, it's Secret Agent. Not a desirable plant, and usually the value of this plant is way less than its variegated or its albumarginated counterpart. And we have here, and I'm showing you these tigers because a lot of the time, a lot of people like the collector tigers. And the collector tigers, they really, really, really have to watch out for them. They really, really have to watch out for them. Now, this is a striated plant. It starts with the albumargination and it goes straight across, it gets variegated. But if it is you look, you would see the longitudinal lines running straight down the leaf. So this is pretty much a stable plant. Pretty much a stable plant. And it's a very lovely plant too. Don't mind that the form is a bit off. This is something definitely you've seen. You definitely could go with one of these. Lovely striated plant. So guys, finally, we're going to look at the pop probability. I think this is what a lot of you all probably have been waiting for. So we have a shark attack here. Look at it. It's a nice plant. Come on, it's a nice plant, nice form, small plant. Another thing too, sometimes you have a plant which is probably small or what have you, and the variegation is a bit iffy like this. But then this plant turns out to be an extremely beautiful plant. Sometimes the variegation is spot on, perfect, and then it has a tendency that it will revert later on. But the better choice is to actually go for a plant that has that variegation spot on early on, because you have a higher probability of getting something, you know, that you're actually looking for, something that you're bargaining for. So we're looking at the pop probability here now. So we have this part of the plant which has a little bit more albo in it, and this part of the plant which is green. So if this plant was mature and it continued to grow like this and it was to pop, usually you would find a greater probability of good pops coming out on the side with the stronger markings, with the stronger variegation or the more uniformed variegation. Take a look at this. Variegated plants, however, they have a high probability of producing variegated pops, right? Variegated pops. Arbomarginated plants could produce arbomarginated pops and also variegated pops. Very rarely you would see, extreme rarely, you would see a variegated plant producing an arbomarginated pop. It is possible, but usually the arbomarginated plants have a higher probability of producing both variegated and arbomarginated plants. Arbomarginated plants are desirable amongst, let's just say, senior collectors, people who have been collected, who have over 100 tigers. There are many people in Trinidad who have over 100, over 120 tigers inside of the garden. But you realize after a period of time that the arbomarginated plants have a stronger, just a slightly stronger tendency to be a bit more stable in nature. However, if they decide to revert, those said plants grow usually slower because of the lack of chlorophyll in it. So with the arbomarginated plants, remember again guys, with the arbomarginated plants reverting, you'll get more white in it. Less chlorophyll, plant can grow slower, don't have enough energy to produce its food, etc. And with the green variegated plants, when it is reverting, they get more green in the plant, right? So these plants have a higher probability of actually staying alive rather than arbomarginated plants. And last but finally, for striated plants, these plants are so lovely, you could get anything from this. You could get variegated pops, you could get arbomarginated pops, and you could also get striated pops. These are very much pretty desirable plants. Don't go for a plant when it is looking at a striata. You see striations on this leaf, solid green, albo here, a little striations here. I mean, it could produce something wonderful for you, but it's not the desired star that you would actually want for your plant. So you're going to get multiple different plants coming out of this. My desire is for you guys to have the best possible plants within your garden and to be able to grow them and to enjoy them. Join us on Friday, that is in 2 days' time, for the close of this segment on variegation. This is Daniel from Gardenscape Designs. Be safe, guys, and be blessed.